Hey guys, my name is Cliff Langston and I'm one of the hosts from the YouTube channel That Was History. On our channel we talk about all things history related in short, easy to understand videos. But you're probably wondering, what am I doing here on Yessik's channel, right? Basically, I'm here to provide you with a little history before Yessik hits the floor and shows you some cool gaming content. We thought it would be fun to cross paths between gaming and history, and what better game to discuss than the one and only Rogue. Ever heard of it? If not, stick around and Yessik will fill you in on all of the gameplay details, but for now, let's set you up with the history. Rogue was developed by Michael Toy and Glenn Wichman around 1980 and was written on the Unix systems at UC Santa Cruz until development moved to UC Berkeley. The game popularized very quickly due to its procedural generation of game content. This means that the game developed the levels on the fly. They weren't mapped out ahead of time by the developers. They were randomly generated, so to speak. Due to its popularity, the game made appearances on the 4.2 BSD Unix system, the IBM PC in 1984, and also Macintosh. Dennis Ritchie, the creator of the C programming language and co-creator of the Unix system, stated that Rogue wasted more CPU time than anything in history. Rogue basically defined dungeon crawling video games as a type of game style, and many roguelike video games would derive from this game. For example, Rogue directly inspired the video game known as Hack, which subsequently helped develop NetHack. Both of these games followed the same basic idea of Rogue while adding their own unique flavor to the genre. For example, Hack introduced the shop into the mix by allowing characters to purchase items to aid them in their new quest. Hack and NetHack also expanded on the number of monsters, items, spells, and so on that the player could experience. The roguelikes continued to build, and influences from these games began to show up in commercial games such as the very famous Diablo series as well. So keep all of this in mind as we hand you over to Yessik, the master of indie games.
Hello ladies and gentlemen, as you already know, I'm here to talk about one of the most exciting games to come out in the last 30 years. This game was so innovative and influential, it inspires really large companies to this day to change their games to fit its structure. This game is of course Rogue. Let's take a look. Yeah, I know, not very exciting, but believe me, it should be exciting. And I know this game is just made up of symbols and looks incredibly simple, and that's because it is, and the simplicity is what is actually exciting about this game. Rogue, even though it looks like this, which I will admit is not very spectacular, made two huge discoveries that impact gaming even today. One is that a randomly generated game is almost infinitely replayable. The more variation you have within the game, the more people will come back to it and try to play it again. There's really this whole one more try mechanic where if the level is randomly generated, you think that if you do it one more time, maybe you'll have a better set of circumstances that will lead to a better payout. Which brings me to the second point that Rogue discovered. Gambling is good, okay? Don't get me wrong here. Gambling in itself, like at a casino where people lose tons of their money, and gambling as an obsessive habit is a very bad thing. But in terms of video games, gambling is the ideal. Having gambling pay off floods your brain with dopamine and other hormones that make you feel really good. This in effect will make you want to keep getting the payoff. So the real secret is to get the payoff just often enough to make the players feel really good about what's happening. And there's several ways of doing this, and there's several ways of using this exploit, which a lot of series have done recently. Before I start this whole tirade, I'm going to define roguelike for you. According to me, roguelike is a game that has elements of Rogue in it. It does not have to be exactly like Rogue, and it does not have to be the traditional definition of a roguelike. So excuse my butchered use of it if you are one of those people. Beginning with The Binding of Isaac. The Binding of Isaac used randomness to not only pay off a gambler's urges and to make you feel good whenever something good happens, but also to make every single run incredibly different. Every single item, or almost every item, comes with a distinct physical change that stacks up on Isaac as you play, making the game a lot of fun to watch and a lot of fun visually, as well as a lot of fun in itself. I define this as a roguelike because every single run is different. There are runs that are similar, but often runs end up completely separated. Strong runs, weak runs, It is a matter of gambling. You feel good when you get paid out with a good item, or when you get a very distinct physical change to Yessik. The second roguelike I'm actually going to bring up is Rogue Legacy, which does something interesting and takes the difficulty of roguelike games, and roguelike games are known for being very difficult, and turns it into an aspect of the game. In Rogue Legacy, not only do you die a lot, but you're expected to die a lot, and the only way you can change your stats is in between deaths. This game is more of a traditional RPG, as you are using your stats and you are continually growing your stats, but it does use roguelike elements to its advantage, and every time you re-enter the castle, the layout has completely changed, other than the 4 main areas. The third and final game I want to mention that is inspired by Rogue is the Diablo series. Diablo 1, 2, and 3 all rely heavily on randomized stats for all their equipment, and having a large amount of variability within character classes. This inspires you to gamble more, to try and farm for equipment, to try to get one tiny tier better of equipment so you can progress in the game, or so you can compare with your friends and have them be jealous of how great your stuff is. The other thing that Diablo 3 apes from Rogue is the random dungeons. Now, in Diablo there's dungeon chunks, which are organized to make larger dungeons. There are some set pieces that are recurring, but the direction you have to go and what you have to do is always randomized. This makes the game really replayable even if you just want to go and farm for more equipment. You feel like you're exploring a new area. And with Diablo 3 specifically, I can demonstrate the power of a roguelike game, and how deviating from the roguelike format can actually disappoint fans. Diablo 3 actually took away some of the random aspect by adding a real money auction house. And it's partially because of this and partially because of less variation within the actual builds you can make that people didn't play it quite as often as they played Diablo. And the real money auction house took away one of the variabilities by making people farm and post their things on the auction house. So the game, instead of becoming about the random numbers, became about gathering as much gold as possible so you could buy good items. Really, nobody cared about farming anymore. So that really does show you how powerful the roguelike elements can be, and how powerful it is to have random elements in your game, especially in the stats of items, to have people keep coming back. A lot of MMOs and tons of other games these days rely very, very heavily on this to actually get a fan base and to actually maintain their fan base. So what did we learn here? We learned 1. Keep the areas random. If you have random areas and random events, it's very likely that you'll have players keep coming back to try to get the rare ones. 2. Gambling is good. Here you see me identifying some items in Diablo 3. Diablo 3 doesn't even need to have this identifying aspect. You can identify just by right-clicking. It's the anticipation and the payoff that makes it all worthwhile. Let's go back to That Was History for a small outro, and I will see you guys next time.
So, what did you think of Rogue? It's pretty cool for a 1980s video game, isn't it? Video games have come a long way since then, but none of it would have been possible without the groundbreaking developments of the early generations. You have to build from the bottom, and while Rogue doesn't compare to the graphic-intensive games of today, you can't deny that this little game was a stroke of genius. If you enjoyed today's content, be sure to subscribe to this channel right here and show Yessik some love. And if you happen to enjoy history as well, please hop on over and check out That Was History. We update 3 times a week, so there's always something new to watch and enjoy. Well, that's my time for today, and on behalf of Yessik and the rest of the That Was History team, thanks for watching.